Sana, and well, today's conversation is really, really interesting one. It's very basic, but it's really, really all about redefining yourself and building a limitless life. And my guest today is Alexandra Terrey. She is an international leader in the mindset and emotional fitness. And she has joined us to explore how redefining your identity can actually help in unlocking a limitless, purpose-driven life. So let's quickly dive in. So Alexandra, welcome to the show, and I'm really, really honored to have you here with us.
Thank you so much, Sarah. It's really my pleasure to be here and spend time with you. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, Alexandra, before we talk about redefining our identity, um, I would love to personally, explore your journey as well. I mean, what exactly motivated you to get into this world of, helping others to create purpose-driven life?
Um, that's a great question. I will try to create a little bit smaller story or shorter story and squeeze it all in a few minutes. But basically, from when I'm looking at a life from helicopter view, so it was everything easy. When we are young, we are full of potential and life and
Mm.
aliveness and happiness and joy, and we try new things and we are more brave and everything. So I was living that life and everything was going really well. So I opened up different businesses. I was traveling in the world, opened up business in Thailand, in Europe, in Bahamas, and everything was kind of easy, even though there was, some challenges and obstacles, but it was easy to overcome them. And
Mhm.
then I hit the bottom when I moved to Australia, and I was going through some personal issues, and we realized with my husband after a while that I can't have kids, and that really hit us hard. And because of my visa as well, living in Australia, finding the job was very hard, so I wasn't sure where to start again. And I was going basically from all areas when you look at financial, spiritual, career, health, everything was going downhill basically because all these things happen in once. And I developed some kind of like a different personality. And when I realized that I'm lost, I'm doubting myself, I don't have any more that inner trust, and I was living in fear and doubts all the time, and I felt really tired and exhausted. I just that exhaustion was more like mental, physical altogether. Like I felt foggy. I just felt terrible. And and there was one moment when I saw my husband and I looking at him and I was like, wow, so he changed as well. And I'm asking him to be, more fun, more happy and be the one that will change. And I realized in a moment that actually it's not him who needs to change. And that's where I kind of started to develop and learn more about neuroscience, psychology, coaching, and yeah, all kind of areas of how our body and mind works together and how they
Mhm.
are connected. And I was going to some ancient wisdoms of yogis, and I love that I read Bhagavad Gita. I really loved the idea of shadow and light and that inner fight that we are good and bad. And
Mhm.
and I had real kind of life experience to see that, darker side of me, or that that time that I thought it's like a bad side of me, but it was probably the best thing that happened to me. And then I started to helping myself basically. And while I was helping myself, I realized my husband is changing and he's getting better and he's happy and he's now back exercising and taking care of himself and taking care of everything. And he just became again full of life. And I
Mhm.
think that really inspired me to see that the change we need to do is actually internally, it's in us. So that was hopefully in short my story.
Well, I know it can be, it definitely sometimes can be difficult to summarize all those moments of self-doubt, anxiety, fear, fogginess, as you mentioned, and then those moments of transformation as well. But yeah, I mean, thank you for sharing that, Alexandra. Um, I guess everyone has such a unique story of going through difficulties, figuring out uh, the things around us, but more importantly, the storm within us. I mean, it's so much. kind of, caged within us. So I think that's the most important part to address upon. So
Yeah.
with that, you also talk about neuro-identity shifts as the key to transformation. So what exactly are these shifts, Alexandra, and why identity, not just behavior, it needs to shift first?
Yeah, and that's great question. And that was actually that took me a little bit long time to realize that. But we all talk about mindset, and it's amazing. Of course, everything starts with our thinking. But I realize that I'm even having those, great thoughts and great mindset and trying to shift everything what I think. It was great, but didn't really feel it. I didn't really feel the sustainable change. So mindset is, for example, I always compare it with the event. You go to for a 4-day event or retreat, and you come back home. You're pumped. You are motivated, excited, and you can continue doing that for a while, but
Mhm.
after 2, 3 weeks, you slip back to your old life.
Yeah.
So the shift or the change didn't happen sustainably or consistently and on cellular level. So I realized there's something missing, and I was trying to get rid of fears, and I had really massive like a expression of fear in my body because we had some burglaries happening as well that time, and it
Mhm.
was frozen in my body. It felt so strange, and I realized that
Mhm.
actually is the feeling, is somatic, is actually body awareness. So if
Mhm.
something happened and I heard the sound outside during the night, I got frozen and I just couldn't sleep because of the fear was expressing in my body. So I started
Mhm.
to work with my body, and I realized that there is a shift that needs to happen on cognitive level, of course, and that's our mind, right? So we start to unlock old beliefs, limiting beliefs,
Yeah.
limiting old patterns that we were living by, and that's our almost subconscious, because 95% of the time we live from subconscious mind. and
Mhm.
and then I realized that I need to shift also in my emotional body, in my energy or frequency. So started looking at the research that was done around emotions and how they are expressing in frequencies. So I realized that fear was very low frequency. So I had to actually change how I feel. So I started to use visualizations or use cognitive awareness to change my emotional state to some higher levels like gratitude, love, compassion, and all those beautiful emotions that, when you feel them, when you feel love, for example, you feel, your heart is opening, you feel warm, you feel this beautiful feeling in your body, but you need to really feel it. So when we do gratitude journal, when we just write down and cognitively or mindset way, when we do it only in our brain, it
Mhm.
doesn't work. But the moment we connect gratitude with emotions and we truly feel it, and we feel it deeply, that's when the change happen. And that's what I realized when I feel different way, when my body shifts, I can actually do things differently because they truly influence my behaviors and my choices. Because it's all your body changes basically. So I was learning after that basically, as I mentioned, is cognitive emotion, or sorry, cognitive, so that awareness and unlocking limits in our mind. Then is emotional kind of change or awakening, that we need to have different emotional frequencies or energy frequencies. Then it will create different behaviors, and those behaviors that we realize we creating from this higher level of frequency, we then embody. So we embody love, we embody let's say joy, or we embody a more fulfilled, healthy life, because that's what we want. And it all is like a cycle of those 4 different steps basically. And when we embody more of that higher frequency emotions, what happens actually, all our life shifts, and then we see actually results outside of us. So our business changes, everything is going well in our life, our health is changing, because as probably you already talk about this, and you already know, and your
Mhm.
audience probably is aware, that when we actually feeling high frequency emotions, as love, gratitude, joy, compassion, what happens in our body, we also release different chemicals. So we actually starting healing process. So it is really important because the body, mind, emotion is really truly all connected. And I think knowing about that is another level of wisdom, right? To have.
That is true. That is true. In fact, before even getting into all these conversations with guests on podcast, I in fact didn't know that the stress I am experiencing, those low frequency, emotions I'm having, fear, anger, they are my body is exhibiting those signs, maybe through blood pressure or maybe through any kind of chronic illness. So yeah, all these are
Yes.
absolutely connected with each other.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned that, right? We have a little bit of stress before something happens, but that's okay. Even that small stress, it's okay. We can still calm it down with our breath, or different techniques, and they are all neuroscience based. But the realization that most people actually live in that stress for a long time. They don't have it only before, for example, meeting or before the session, but they develop this living in sympathetic nervous system is in the stress mode. And you're right, like that changes everything because there is not only that frequency that we're changing and attract, bad things or maybe not that great things into our life. But what happens is the cortisol and adrenal hormones and so many other neurotransmitters are released into our body, and they truly destroy our internal environment. So our organs, got depleted, and the blood is not going there because we are in fight or flight. So all the blood, all energy needs to be in muscles because it's preparing us for run. So yeah, it's exactly where all the chronic disease start or can start. Of course, not all of them, but which ones are emotionally related. Of course, they can start with just this small change in our life.
So, um, so as we're talking about shifting, redefining ourselves and then building a limitless life. So, how, how do we start, Alexandra? I mean, what is the first step? Let's say if I want to build a limitless life.
Yeah, I think the first step is to understand what does that mean for you. So, what you truly would love to become. So, a lot of people think from having something first, right? So, I want to have big house. I want to have the car. I don't know. I want to have family. I want to like the people want to own. And
Yeah.
when we're coming from that energy, from that perspective, the wanting is very negative. It's kind of like a resistance almost. Is not a very nice energy in our body, and it doesn't really help us to create. So when we move to the energy, okay, so what would I love to create? So the question is, what or who would you like to become, and what do you want to create? So it's more about creation. It's more about the legacy, but not creating legacy, but living legacy every day. So who I want to be? Do I want to be love? Do I want people remember me as loving, as someone that helped them change their life or influence them? At least creating better mood when they are with me, or how am I influencing people? How am I having impact? So the questions are all around that because we can create a finance or money or businesses and cars as a side effect of us being who we truly want to be or who we truly supposed to be. So I believe there is this internal call inside of us, and we need to understand what is our purpose, why we are here, what is truly helping us to feel happy, what is there inside of us to actually bring joy. So, some people think that I want to have this career and I want to be, for example, coach, right? Like when I'm talking about coaches. But the true calling is something else. Some people actually realize that maybe that was just a charitable organization that I want to start, or maybe it's just helping my family and just
Mm.
being that person that has always positive impact on people. And everyone has different calling. And I think the magic is when you find what is that calling inside you, so it can be small, it can be bigger, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't mean that we all are born here to change the world. We don't need to change the world. We just need to become the best version of ourselves. So studies, yeah, studies awareness about who I truly am when I'm not putting any mask on, when I'm not trying to fit in, when I'm fully expressing myself. when I am feeling in my best, and I am at my best. So who is that human? What is that expression in energy, in emotions and impact?
I really like that you said, who we are when we are not putting any mask. So that
Yes.
is an important question that we can ask ourselves.
Yeah, and it's a big one because we are creating or we're putting masks because there is expectation, right? There is always this pressure. It's the invisible pressure of society and family and culture, and we put a mask on, and we all do it. There is no difference. There is not person that I know that it wouldn't be having mask on, right? In different circumstances. I think the most important part is to understand when I put a mask on, what is that mask? Is that mask creating the identity? And it creates the identity of something or someone that I am actually not. So if we need to put a mask on and we need to be more, I don't know, professional, or we need to be more playful because we are with kids, I
Mhm.
think that doesn't need to be really mask or identity. It can be just us expressing ourselves in different circumstances. And I think what is said, people start to create that mask that stays with them,
Mhm.
and they change their life based on that. So that's when the problems happens, when you identify yourself with your position or with your career or with your business, or as a wife, as a mother only, and then people, when you lose that identity because the circumstances changes later on, they get very lost. So having awareness, I think awareness is first step to everything.
Mhm. Wow. And also, let's talk about because you integrate neuroscience and then energy work and breath work. So some might say that it's too unconventional or sometimes even contradictory. How how do you reconcile science with spirituality in your work?
Oh, that is a big question. So what I really love from perspective of neuroscience and, okay, spirituality. So I think there is a world of all of us right now that is still having these, I get myths or misconceptions about spirituality.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
spirituality was advertised, especially now, is advertised the way that is ritualistic, sometimes almost
Mm.
cultish, and it's
Mm. Yeah.
and people say that you're spiritual when you dancing, I don't know, naked somewhere. You need to go to retreat, and
Right.
like
Or
it's almost,
stuff.
yeah, and I think it's silly because spirituality is, to me, it starts with um a living with integrity, being conscious,
Mm.
understanding that what I say influence people, or what I do influence people. I have impact every day, and every human on this planet have impact on other people. So I think living with that knowing, that's the first step to spirituality, right? Like it's the taking care of
Mm.
soul, or connecting with people on a deeper level. To me, soul to soul, heart to heart, that's already spiritual. So I feel like spirituality is nothing woo woo, actually, or something weird. Spirituality to me is just a part of us. It's the not. I'm not talking about just moral or ethics. It's more about feeling and understanding ourselves and going deeper than just on intellectual level. So we are
Mhm.
intellectual beings, we are emotional beings, physical beings, but we are also spiritual beings, and we can't deny that, right? We know
Yeah.
there is energy, there is frequency, there is feeling, there is all these things that changes, how we connect. And and I think the science is just such a beautiful addition, maybe from perspective of why mindfulness works, why
Mm.
meditation works, why all these different practices, they actually come from, for some people, from spirituality, right? Spiritual teachings, but they are all working very well. Like when you look at the research that is done on meditation. So when I take people from a CEO executive positions for coaching, and we start to work together, if I will tell them they need to do yoga and they need to go breathe, and I will talk about that woo-woo way, spiritual way, they're probably not going to buy into it. So I use spirituality to, sorry, the neuroscience or biology or psychology. I'm trying to use that to explain people that these practices are here for the reason, and they take us to, for example, parasympathetic nervous system, so you can rest and digest, where actually your brain function on a higher level, because you are able to use the capacity of, like your energy, your blood, everything is like is in your brain when you're resting. It's almost like your mind can calm down and can digest, and when even when we digest, we have clarity. So I'm trying to use science from that perspective, when we explain that when we are in stress mode, all the blood and basically focus is going to amygdala, to middle part of the brain, when we are in fight or flight mode. So what happened when we are in fight or flight mode? We are basically pumping the blood or energy in the muscles so we can run. So now when we stay in that state, and a lot of people are in a stress mode, most of the day, all the time, and it's this underlining, not visible pressure, but they don't realize that they are actually pumping the body with cortisol and adrenal hormones, and they are actually depleting their organs. So this is how I use science, basically just explaining that actually doing a 5 minutes breath work
Mhm.
can change your brain, can change your body, your health, and you can start healing process just because of what happens with chemicals and neurotransmitters. So I think that is really important part of science behind, spirituality. So I feel like it's just the bridge, to connect spirituality and science, so people actually understand it a little bit better, and
Mhm.
they are open to use it, because I think it's really necessary, especially in this environment, when we have, a lot of stress, financial stress, and a lot of things, a lot of changes happening from even COVID time. When you're looking at that, like last few years are just really, really, I guess, uncertainty, or we're living in a lot in uncertainty, and we know
Right.
uncertainty creates, the stress and pressure.
Mhm.
So I think, yeah, bringing all the mindfulness, bringing all the different practices into real, I guess, analytical world is really important.
Wow. And I really like the fact that, if you're coaching a CEO, then I think instead of just forcing down and trying to break the myths around spirituality, how it blends into personal development and, rooting out, uprooting out all these self-limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
It's better to explain from a more scientific and pragmatic way through neuroscience.
Yeah.
That's quite a creative approach, Alexandra.
Yeah, thank you. And I love it how you wrap it up, right? Like, it's, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just forcing someone and trying to tell someone that, hey, you need to now just meditate. It's not going to
Yeah.
work, because people are still kind of worried about spirituality, and they think it's very, yeah, it's just not pragmatic, like you said, pragmatic, and it's not smart, because sadly, it is advertised very not smart way.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
Great. So before we wrap up, Alexandra, if our listeners would like to connect with you to take that first baby step, what's the best way to do that?
I would say there are two things. I launched the book Limitless Soul. So if anyone wants to probably grab a book, that would be great start to awareness and understanding what my method is about, and what we use, how we work with clients. There are some client stories as well, and people can start to use a few different tools in a book. And it's made up as a workbook almost, so people actually can go into book and do some self-reflection exercises and start to become more aware and mindful. And I think that's really great start for anyone who is not deeply in personal development yet. So you can find the book on the website limitlesssoul.com. Limitless Soul with two S. So it's all that, there is no free S. So limitlesssoul.com or thementoringeffect.com. That's our company, basically, where we do all the personal development trainings, retreats. And there are some great meditation for beginners and like a small courses, so people can start even for like $11, so, like, very short course to start to learn a little bit more about those tools. They really help us to change our life.
Wonderful. I will make sure to have the everything included in the show notes. And Alexandra, thank you so much. Well, I mean, thank you for explaining us that even our darkest moments and our past, they can be the portal to who we are actually meant to become. And thank you for sharing your story and beautifully explaining about the connection between mind, body, and spirit. And yeah, thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you so much, Sana. It was a pleasure to be here, and thank you so much for waking up so early. Really appreciate it.
And to all the listeners, be sure to connect with Alexandra and check out her book, workbook. I'll have all the links mentioned in the show notes. And until next time, stay mindful and take care of yourself and your loved ones. Thank you.